Hello everyone, this is Real World Audio, and today this is a really special episode because I'm going to talk about Jean Hiraga. And back then, couple months ago, I promised you guys that I'm going to talk about the audio underground and those people who had a giant impact on audio today. And these are voices from the fringe, people who were not in the mainstream, but a lot of their thinking, their work has trickled down to drastically change audio forever. And Jean Hiraga is one of those geniuses, one of those giants who did this. And he lives in France, and he has Japanese ancestry, Japanese origins. That's why the Hiraga, the Japanese family name. And he was that person who brought single-ended vacuum tubes back to life for Western Europe and US. So that's the Western word for you. And if it was not for him, all we would have today and all we would play around with would be solid state amps and push pull tube amplifiers, and no one would experience the triode revival and the revival of low power amplifications and high efficiency loudspeakers. And I need to add that low power triodes and high efficiency loudspeakers were not lost in Japan and Southeast Asia. They have been kept alive. I would say they have been kept alive in Japan, and Southeast Asia is really quickly taking them in nowadays and the past few decades. But it has been Japan who started carrying the single-handed torch, since in the US single-handed started giving way to push-pull amplification, and all the old single-handed technology was basically discarded and ended up in the junkyards and junk heaps. And basically some Japanese people realized that wait, we should not just toss these out, and they started buying them up whenever they could. And a huge DIY circle grew up in Japan who based on these mainly Western electric single-handed amps, they started tinkering with this technology and connecting to it. And the reason for that is because single-handed amplification, especially when done with low power, it gives you a very different presentation of music compared to what our industry has been turned towards to nowadays. So single-handed amplifiers and ultra-efficient loudspeakers, this combination gives you the least changes to the music content. So there are debates what makes music and what makes sound, but it has been a universal experience that when you go with a pure system, and under pure I mean there are the least number of components in the signal path. So it means that you are not processing the signal, you are giving it the minimum necessary processing and not more. And if there are errors introduced to the signal, you do not try to correct it, because when we implement error correction measures, we are not just correcting those errors, we cannot correct those errors that equipment introduced to the sound, because the error correction measures are not intelligent. It's not like You are sending Beethoven into your amplifier and he can tease out what is wrong, what your amp, what your speakers do to the sound and give you the pure version. Not at all. Our global feedback, local feedback, all sorts of feedback mechanisms and DSP, they are dumb and relatively stupid methods. They are not intelligent. They just do a mechanical job. It's like a butcher butchering up the meat. Of course, when it's cut into small pieces, you will be able to eat, chew, and digest it, but that's not a living cow, not a living chicken. Very far from it. That's your dinner. So if you want to get to know the animal, which is in this case the music itself, then this butchering and prepping part and grinding up to hamburger meat, yes, it will give you consistent hamburgers. You can go to any fast food chain and you will get the exact same tasting hamburger, but that you will not really be able to connect to how like a really well prepared home cuisine, home food is, or what sort of relation does that bear to animals. If you want to connect to it in a deep way, you have to go and live in a farm and raise those animals, get to know the animals. So this is the difference in attitude between the single-ended triode ultra efficient speaker world or single-ended drivers, which is the simplicity, versus what we have today, modern technology, which means like go as complicated as you can, throw in as much as many stages of correction as you can, as much editing and processing as you can. And I just had a really long conversation with Craig, and we reached some really interesting points in our discussion, and it was really about music. How do we connect to music? What do we want to hear from it? And we were in total agreement that today there is a major lack of authenticity in music, and not just in recorded music, but the music that is being played. There is no sincerity, no authenticity, no heart, no soul in most of the music you hear today. And the presentation of music, what we generally get from our audiophile equipment, is geared towards giving you that sort of attitude. It's just amplifying the mechanical aspect of sound. So you just get the surface, you get the quality, the quantities, the resolution, you get impact, you get quantifiable things. But as my grandfather said, who was without a doubt one of the greatest musicians of the last century, he said that not everything in this world that counts is quantifiable. The most important things cannot be quantified. And this is how music is. Okay, I think that was a really wrong introduction, and but I had to make that because that's where Jean Hiraga comes in, and that's where he shown us a beacon of light, a beacon of hope, that if you want to get authenticity from your music experience, he is providing you a road. And I'm not saying this is the only road, and if you have found another one, that is truly awesome, and I do believe that there are avenues even with current and modern technology that you can use them and put together a system, even with DSP, even with solid state amplification, even with current hungry loudspeakers, or all of them together, which can bring you to music, to the authentic core and soul of music experience, and not let you just wallow in the shallow superficialities of sound itself. However, it is extremely unlikely that it can happen. I can say that I almost never heard that happen, but with this avenue that Jean Hiraga gave us, which gave rise to the underground audio community, it is happening left and right. So I think this was a neat introduction, and I'm going to stop this video here, and we are continuing with part 2. So thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and the next part will be truly about Jean Hiraga's loudspeakers.